Hello, welcome to another edition, another week of Move It or Lose It, a podcast that is about movement and all things for our bodies and our autoimmune diseases. So tonight is, I know I say this every single time, but tonight is a really special podcast for me. So one of the things that I have wanted to do for a long time is a podcast for our singles, for our single MSers, for our singles that have autoimmune diseases. So as you can see, my panel of guests today, I have invited them on. They're all single, and I really wanted to get deep in just a conversation and just have some fun with it. And maybe a little tears, maybe a little getting frustrated, but really we're going to talk about what it's like to be single when you have an autoimmune disease. So with no further ado, thank you guys all so much. You can go ahead and unmute, and thank you guys for being here and having this discussion with me. And something I think is so important. I think something not talked about nearly enough. And yes, this is my Christmas tree. So my little Christmas tree. So something I just feel is not discussed enough is, what is it like to be single with this? And we all have different stories. And so I want you to go ahead and share. So I'm going to have you, if you want to share now, just your story, feel free to do that. If you want to wait, you can do that. So I'm just going to go in order. Adam, do you want to go ahead and start? Didn't think I was going to call you, huh?
I'll start. Put me on the spot. It works.
Okay, go for it.
I'm Adam Powell, also known as MS to the Wrong MFer, as a lot of you know about the shirts, all that stuff. But I'm single. I've had a lot of issues with it, without having somebody by your side. You have to do everything alone. And I've had this disease for 3 years, and it's been alone.
Yeah.
I've had my parents, which have been great. And luckily, I've gotten myself back to being as independent as I possibly can, but to not have someone to rely on, to just a shoulder to lean on, somebody to talk, confide in, is really tough when you're trying to do this all alone. I mean, I've lost so many people in the last 3 years. It's insane, between friends and people I was dating and just everyone. They just disappear. They just, they can't handle the disease, even though they don't have it or know anything about it. We're trying to fight for our lives, and then they're like, well, nope, sorry, see ya. So it's tough. It's real tough. I know one of the people who got me like this season a little bit, it's holiday season, Thanksgiving, Christmas, I just go hang out with my family, which is cool. But I see so many people doing like their Friendsgiving and stuff like that, like everywhere. And I'm like, man, that would be cool to like be invited to one of those, but I wasn't to any of them. So it's like, it's just it's sad to see it. It's good that other people are doing it, but it's sad to be like, wow, like I want to do that, but I don't have the friends anymore to have a Friendsgiving.
Yeah, no, Adam, one of the things I love about you most is your honesty. And I think that's how a lot of us feel, but we'll never go to share and be that raw about it. So I really appreciate that, because I think it really is how a lot of us feel. A lot of us feel more single, and there's no one there, not that person to go ahead and share things with. But when it comes to holidays, I remember just dreading those and thinking like, okay, here it is. And Friendsgiving, I did in the beginning get invited when I joined a run group, which was kind of crazy for MS, but that's what I wanted to do. And I did, but it was awkward. I was the single person, and not a lot of people knew I could kind of hide the MS then. But once people could see, now, then it got awkward, less invites, things like that. And so thank you, Adam, for sharing that. Yeah. And so, Ricky, I know your story is a little different. Would you like to go next?
Sure. Well, I was actually dating my wife when I was diagnosed. But when I first was diagnosed, I acted pretty much, I could still do everything. And like, we got married in 2001. And in 2007, she decided that my MS had progressed to the point where she could no longer handle it anymore. And she left. and we divorced. And I've been single ever since. Haven't had a date since. And it's tough because I feel like who's gonna want to go out with somebody who can barely walk with a walker? I'm in a wheelchair most of the time if I'm out of the house. And I feel like who's gonna want to deal with somebody with all the problems that I have? So that's kind of my basic story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
To add to that, Ricky, I feel the same way. Like I feel like I'm a burden to other people now because I do need help with stuff. And I'm so unpredictable now. It's hard to be like, in some aspect, like I understand why people just kind of fade away, but it still sucks. It still hurts, but
Yeah. And I think, Ricky, what you shared too, I think is all unfortunately too common, where someone who's in your life, like my husband, my first husband, who was all of a sudden it became too much and he was like, see ya. And so I think that those are really tough things when someone decides that your sickness is too much for them. And it's like, if only you were the body that was having all the stuff. But, I understand it's to some point that they're disappointed, but then when you marry someone, it's like, remember the sickness, health thing. And you think about like, wow, if you had this, I would pray to God, I would never handle that the same way. And so that's tough.
My wife had all kinds of problems and procedures that needed to be taken care of, that I was always there for her and took her through and went through with her. But when she saw that I was getting to a point where she wasn't going to be able to handle it, she bailed. And knock on wood, I live with my brother, who is my anchor and he's my support. And I don't know where it would be without him because he does everything for me. He helps me get dressed when I need help. He cooks all the meals. We have a housekeeper, so he doesn't clean house, but he does dishes every time he cooks dinner and all that kind of stuff. So luckily I have my brother to hold on to, because without him, I don't know where I would be.
He's just not much of a date, huh?
No.
But you're right. I mean, thank God you do have that. And I think it's really, I think like both so far you and Adam shared that it's not that you don't see the things to be grateful for. You see the fact that, Adam, you've got your parents there. Rick, you've got your brother there. There's someone there. There are people there that are helping, but I just want to spend time with someone that I can have that attraction to, that they're attracted to me, and that I can talk about, my day, my life, my hopes, my dreams, my crappy things, my stuff. So now moving, Diana, would you like to go next?
Sure. Mine's a little bit weird. Like I was diagnosed when I was 17.
I don't think yours is weird, Diana, by the way.
No?
I think yours is such a story that a lot of people don't tell, but I know so many diagnosed that early. So I love your story and I love that you're sharing it. So go ahead. I won't interrupt again.
So I was 17 when I was diagnosed, and my neurologist had absolutely no bedside manner. He basically told me that if I didn't go on his medication, I would never be married, never have children, forget about living a life filled with fulfillment. So I left his office. I never returned, by the way, but I left his office thinking, no, he's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But I thought about what he said every single day. And when it came to dating, I was like, am I going to put this person through this? This might lead to marriage, whatever. So I would push people away. And nothing, like soon as I'd have fun or whatever, but soon as I realized, oh, this could be going somewhere, I ended it. Selfish of me, I felt, because then I had control. What about this poor person that's thinking that I'm committing to them or whatever? but it wasn't the case. Like my fear overpowered falling
Sure.
in love or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel now like it's like, well, now it's too late, or do you feel like,
Yes. Now it's too late. Like, okay, so I was diagnosed 17, in a wheelchair by 26. So no roots really formed with anybody. And I felt like now it's too late. I'm in the chair. Who the hell is going to want to date someone in a chair? And people like, I can recall like a couple of people trying to get close and me thinking, what are you, stupid? Like, do you want to live the rest of your life with someone who's going to depend on you like for everything? But I don't know.
yeah, I think you're rough on yourself, but we'll get to that. I think there's a lot of, you're a very beautiful girl. You have a amazing heart and you're funny. And I think that you just kind of, you let that doctor really get in your head. And, and I'm so sorry for that. You want me to go punch him? I'll go beat him up for you. But I am very sorry for that because I hate the idea of that, but you're not out of the dating range, girlfriend. Okay, Derek, would you like to share?
Sure. You know everybody else's story, but I'm a mister.
I don't know anything about your story, Derek.
Well, I was my hand went numb when I was 22, and I was dating my who would then become my wife.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through the whole gamut of MRIs and neurologists, and 10 years went by. We got married, and we moved to California. All of our family's back in Ohio. And then I got double vision. I had it for a while, and then I went to my eye doctor, and he didn't see anything wrong, so sent me to the ophthalmologist, and they asked, and I was like, yeah, my hand's been numb. They think it might have been MS. MRI diagnosed the next Monday. She wasn't having it, so I think I moved out within a week of 2 weeks of telling her that I was diagnosed, and then I was, filing for divorce and divorced within a year. And I did all that myself, and
Wow.
my family's back in Ohio, and so also it was a weird time because my grandma turned 90, and it was a surprise party, and everybody flew back and was there for a party, and they knew I had problems with my vision, so everybody kept asking me, but I didn't want to tell them because grandma's 90,
Right.
So I just had to internalize it for a little while, and so that gave me some time to sit with the diagnosis and what it meant. And I was 32 at that time. Then I started dating, or I met someone just randomly before the paperwork had even been filed, and we started dating and got pretty serious. And we ended up in a long-term relationship for 8 years. And during this whole time, my symptoms were pretty unnoticeable. Like, it was a hidden disease at that point. And I was very active. I could still maintain everything. But then, during the marriage, weird things would happen. And, it was just odd, as we all know. And then during my 8-year relationship, the progression started happening, and I started using a cane in 2007. By 2020, or by 2019, I was using a electric wheelchair if I was going out and about to get anywhere, because I couldn't handle any distance. And my partner at the time was super supportive of that. She was very helpful. She would push me around in wheelchairs. We'd go to festivals. She was by my side, and she was wonderful. And then that relationship ended, not because of MS. And I was alone for the first time with this disease. And this is 2020 during the lockdown. She moved out. I was by myself. I still live alone. During 2020, I took a lot of time to just work on myself and become friends with myself and become okay with being alone, because the concept was scary, and I'd never been on any dating apps. You know, you mentioned it before this started about trying to set up profiles. I mean, I jumped on all of them, and I got, you know, pretty deep into creating profiles and ran into situations of like, when do I disclose this? You know, I decided it would be best to just, I would edit and play with profiles, try different things and comments and see if anybody bite. And like, you know, I was always had a picture of me with my cane. I wasn't trying to misrepresent myself, but I also wasn't trying to disclose my medical information right out of the gate, because who else is doing that? And so a lot of conversations happened, and a lot of conversations just ended as soon as I mentioned MS, just ghosted, you know? But I think if anybody, regardless of your health concerns, I think online dating takes a certain amount of resiliency, and you just have to keep going and not let these strangers fuck up your own self-image, you know?
Right.
And so I started getting the mindset of, you know, their loss. You know, I'm pretty awesome. Who cares if I need a walker and I shuffle around,
Right.
you know? I don't have
Good
a
for
job.
you.
I haven't worked for somebody or like full time had a job since 2017. And, you know, I live alone. I've created all these hobbies for myself, and I stay busy. I try to go for walks when I can with my walker, you know. I go to concerts. I maintain a active lifestyle for somebody with this condition, I feel. And all of this just allowed me to cultivate like just an air of confidence about myself. And I think, you know, just eventually I met someone finally on OkCupid, and sorry, I didn't think it was going to happen, right? But she's been amazing, and it's like we fell in love, and we've been together for 9 months, and we still live separate lives. She lives about an hour away, and you know, it's like she's there and supports me and can talk to me. And so after having been by myself for 2 years, 2+ years, and having to work on it and getting shot down, going on random weird dates with people that don't really care, you know, about you or understand. Some people knew about MS. They're like, I knew somebody with MS, my parents' friend, they died.
Right.
And I'm like, well, what killed him? And they're like, MS.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you don't really know that
Yeah.
much about MS, I guess, because in my understanding, it's not going to kill us.
It'll torture you to death.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I read when I first thought I might have it was that it doesn't kill you, it just affects your quality of life.
Sure.
And so I was like, sweet, I'll live as predetermined as, you know, it's just going to be shitty. So,
Yeah. I mean,
hey.
it can open obviously you up to other things, you know, always the big fears, the big C word, like, is this gonna, you know, am I gonna get cancer? Am I gonna get, you know, from this lovely disease? But I love that you open up with that, and that you met someone, and that you weren't afraid to go on the apps. And they can be grueling. They can be everything that I've heard. I'll tell my crazy story after. But thank you for sharing that. And I'm glad that you met someone and that you're willing to be open about it. And thank you. So I'll have more questions about that for sure. So Jenny.
Hi.
Hey, your turn.
Which part would you like me to start at the beginning, or what it's like to live now?
No, the beginning. I mean, go ahead and share the beginning.
Okay, so I was diagnosed just under 9 years ago, and it was a very late diagnosis. I'd been misdiagnosed earlier, so by the time I was eventually diagnosed, I was quite advanced in disease state. and I was rapidly losing my functionality of my arms and legs and other parts of my body and my brain. And so when I came back from the third neurologist I saw, who said, you have definite MS, and we're going to throw you on some steroids immediately and try to reverse these disabilities you're rapidly incurring. The guy that I had been seeing for 3 years walked into my house and he said, I don't love you enough to want to be there for you. And he made it clear that there had to be enough love that you had to have for someone, like extra love, if you were going to be there for someone with that in your life. And he just walked out, and the guy's a loser, and it's long over. That I think that words cannot be taken back, actions cannot be taken back. They can be apologized for, and you can reconcile it through counseling. But that really, those words had enormous impact on me and set the stage in the future for what I would expect from other people that I might consider dating again. As it turned out, I was too ill and have been too ill to ever look for anyone. And I did meet someone who, well, he found me, and I dated him for a long time. And while he was really helpful and was really okay dealing with the absolute disgusting, humiliating things that I have to deal with this disease and the severity of my disease, because really within the first year, my EDSS was at 6.5, I think, at least, and been in a mobility scooter, ever since. And but he would make me feel like a burden, without a doubt. And like, well, he would be okay, and then, well, I don't want to do all that because that means that I have to do everything, and then I have to unpack the car, and then I get the pleasure of packing it back up. And there's, again, there's those words that you just never say to people. You think them, but you shut up about it. You never say it. And I think I'm not that kind of person that has the ability to say what I think at the time when I really want to say it. But a lot of other people do seem to have that ability. But I really wish that I had the ability to slap something back at them, but I don't.
Right.
So moving forward, I have no faith in anyone or anything, so I'm not looking, and don't expect it. Assume it will be, that's the last person I've ever dated. And as far as living alone, single, so essentially the last 9 years, I have been alone. Like this guy never had my back. And I think that most challenging thing about being alone, completely alone, like single, like not like physically alone, right, is not having there. I have advocacy fatigue on all levels, right? Like I just come out of HSCT in February, and this is the first time in 9 years I've had any improvement, and I'm able to get up and walk a little bit and walk again. So I've been fighting really freaking hard.
Right. Which, Jenny, is huge that you went through HSCT and then on your own coming back. I mean, that's huge.
It was really hard. It was really, really hard. And I just wondered what it would have been like if there was someone there that could have held me when I was crying, because it was 31 days of extreme suffering for me. And but it helped. And so they're always fighting on the health level, like the medical professionals, to get their administration done so that I can get my chemo, so I can get my pharmaceuticals, so I can do this, so I can do this, so I can do this. They're like, it's all line of like that level of advocacy. And then there's the stigma, the discrimination, that every time I walk out the door, I'm all alone facing some jerk that has to be, rude to me because I'm disabled and I'm seen as less worthy. While not everybody thinks that, we do know that society and mainstreamers do have an opinion that disabled people are less valuable and worthy, and they feel the right to say something nasty or do something rude or mean. I am the victim, and at the end of their, their bad day or whatever it is. And so and I don't have somebody beside me to stand up for me. And so there's that portion of being alone. and then trying to figure out all these decisions that I constantly have to make. Am I making the right one? I have no one to bounce any ideas off. I have no like real, no real solid figure that I can turn to and discuss something medical or something. You know, I have to move all the time because I'm escaping the snow, and like, is this the right decision, or how to do this and how to plan that, and the logistics of flying alone, you know, on a mobility scooter or multiple airlines, and when something goes wrong, and how does that happen, and how to pack, and all the decisions I make. You know, I often get criticized for not doing the right. Well, why don't you do this? And why are you doing that? Well, if I were you, I would do this. And from people who have MS, and also from friends, and I just get sick of really defending myself.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really just doing my best, and I do everything possible. I'm someone that sits on the sofa and eats cheesy puffs and just like lets the disease take its way. I mean, I've been trying really hard, and I get tired of that, you know, always having to defend myself. It just would be awesome to really have help. You know, everybody has echoed other things that they have encountered along with being, you know, alone and being disabled and needing physical help and around the house. So I'm not going to mention that, but I think the mental component is the one that just really grates on me and is really tough. So
yeah, I think that and when I see you and I see all that you're doing, I'm always just amazed that you are able to do so much on your own. And I think that to me is the hardest part when I see you guys and I know that you're not with someone, is that there's no one saying, like, there's no one cheering you on when you guys do these amazing things. And when I see, Jenny, the stuff you're doing, or Adam or Diana or Ricky, when I'm training them, and Derek, I don't know you, but I'm sure that I would think you're just as amazing. And it just it's so frustrating to me that you don't get that. So I always try to cheer you guys on, because I'm just like, you guys are so amazing, and you're really such powerhouses to be able to do this on your own and to do all of the things that you have to do to get place to place, Jenny. And I know a lot about those things with you, and I'm always in awe of you. So whatever jerk face doesn't want you, screw him, because he doesn't deserve you, because you are an amazing woman. So screw whatever jerk doesn't want to be with you, because I think you are simply an amazing, beautiful, strong woman. So.
Well, I will pass this podcast on to him, because
you do that. Well, thank you, Jenny. And now, Sanam,
Yes.
would you like to share your story? Hello.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, thank you so much, Kathy, for putting this together, because
Thank you.
I know that this subject is very, very important for people with any kind of disability, especially with MS, and not too many people talk about it. And people are scared to open up about the, you know, life with MS, and especially about the dating, because of a lot of other things about MS is very weird. So
yes,
thank you. Anyways, I'm Sanam. I'm certified health and life coach with focus on MS. I've been diagnosed in 2019, and I also misdiagnosed, like Jane, if I'm not mistaken, her name. I'm sorry if I say it wrong.
Jenny.
But Jenny, yes, I was misdiagnosed as well, but finally diagnosed with MS in 2019. And when I got diagnosed, I decided to take a break from dating, because I was experiencing a lot of physical problems, emotional problems, and I decided to take my time, get to know myself better with my new version of myself, and then just put the dating aside and make sure that I'm ready for it, and I'm open, and I know how to communicate with others about it, and what should I say, when should I say, all of those things that I'm sure that is on top of a lot of people living with MS, their head. Diana and Derek, they both talked about how weird and hard it is to go through online applications, online websites in general to
Mm.
talk to someone to understand them and their challenges, their problems,
Mm.
and how they can support them, how they can be on their side when they're having
Right.
a tough time with their MS. So I don't know if you don't mind, I can just tell them a couple of applications that I know and
Yeah.
websites that is
We will go over that because I want to go over
okay.
that, but I want you
Perfect.
just to share your story.
Yeah, so so far I'm still doing same, and however I'm ready. I'm way more ready because I know myself better. Thankfully, my disabilities, I don't need someone to take care of me. I don't need someone to do stuff around the house. These days, I'm able to walk around myself and do my things, and I'm still not back to what I used to be, like a lot of us, but everything looks cool and I can take care of myself, and life is beautiful, and I accepted that MS is part of me. It's not the whole Sanam. So if someone wants to be with me, they have to I mean, they don't have to, but if they like to, they can get to know me better and understand my life with MS, which is part of me, of course. And we can get to know each other and see if we are fit for each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I like that. And I think that, Sanam, to what you said is, I think that there were a lot of, there's a lot of things I can still do on my own, 20 something years in, I'm still able to, and I'm very grateful for that. And I know many people who've done what I've done, who've done the eating well, going on the specific MS diets, the 14,000 of them, and, doing the things that I did, exercising from the beginning, and, why it is with this disease, I can be next to someone who was diagnosed 6 months ago and they're in a wheelchair, not walking. And see, and so it's like, there's not always a rhyme or reason. We can think that, I can look at myself and think that, well, I'll never be in a wheelchair because look at all the things that I'm doing. I'm doing the best, I'm eating the best, I'm exercising, I'm doing all these great things. But I think what people don't always understand is that it affects our entire central nervous system. So it can do whatever it would like to do. But our best defense is obviously exercise, eating well. Those are our two main components that we have to fight this thing back. And so obviously, that. And so I think that when we're able to do some of that, it gives us some empowerment in knowing that I'm doing this, like Ricky, when we trained today, you had said, I feel so much better when I'm doing something. And I think that's such an important part of what we deal with when we're not with someone, when there's not that other person that's there to help us feel like we're more than, that we are able to do things on our own too, whether it's whatever it is that you enjoy. I'm not going to name off stuff that I believe that you all enjoy. I don't know you guys that well yet. But what I can say is that you are all very attractive with the stories that you told, very beautiful stories. And you're all, each one of you, and this is the biggest thing I want you to take away in the beginning, is that you're all enough. You don't have to do or say anymore. You are all more than enough. And so it's whatever their issue is, that they can't handle a disability, because that's on that person. And we know that in any marriage, whether we say in sickness and in health, there's going to be those people that are just going to be like, sure, at the moment. But when it comes to that time, they're out in a relationship or in a marriage. And so that breaks my heart for you guys. But I want to move on, if that's okay. I've got a couple questions and now feel free to just do, so we don't overstep each other, just do a little hand up and then I'll call on you guys. So what are some of the biggest concerns that you have with an autoimmune disease when it comes now to stepping into the dating? Like, let's say someone were to say, I'd like to go on a date with you. So I know some of you are ready and some of you are like, eh. So whoever wants to answer that question, just hand up. What would be some of the concerns that you would have